The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. And this is, by the way, I replace Lord and he with the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level. That's what I believe this to mean. Well, that's what I know this to mean. But for the purposes of the discussion, this is what I'm asserting. So I'll read it as written, but understand that's what I mean by he and Lord. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. What's up, Rick? I'm on a 34-hour restart, parked at a TA, Travel Centers of America. Good stuff. I don't feel fully caffeinated, though. I've had my 32 ounces of coffee, but you know, they have the extreme caffeine, you know, extreme coffee. It says 20% more caffeine. At what point do I switch to that, right? Resisting the urge to go for the third. Well, actually, what would be the fifth and sixth cups if we're going by an 8-ounce cup? Historically, by the way, much like a glass of wine, a cup of coffee was closer to 5 or 6 ounces. Inflation, perhaps? Shout out to the chat. I wasn't going to do this, but then I saw shout out to our boy John Wayne, who's around these parts at times, and go check out my posts or community tab, what used to be the community tab. He posted an excerpt from a recent Enslaved by Truth live stream. And of course, I have thoughts. Perhaps we will play that if I can figure out how to maybe play it on one phone and then turn my earbuds off and maybe just go into the phone mic. Maybe that will work. I don't know. Just got done doing my shopping. Laundry. Oh, Rick on US 1 in Florida doing laundry. Interesting. I don't know if are you in Palm Beach County? I'm not trying to dox anybody. I'm just curious. Wonder where old Rick is. I'm sure he said generally where he lives, but yeah, I know Florida a bit. I had a buddy in Jupiter many years ago, a fella I went to college with, and I actually had a Florida driver's license for a few months. I was going to move to Florida, and that didn't take. But Jupiter's quite nice, I must say. I actually worked at an Outback in West Palm there for a while. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into the crowd work this early. Oh, Vero Beach. Okay. I'll have to look at the map. I'm not that familiar. I think I know where it is. Anyway, let me get back to it here before I get lost in the sauce of the crowd work. So I have thoughts on what EBT had to say, and in fact, this is the reason for the title of this stream, Gallows Humor, and then how in question marks ties in. And shout out to Enslaved by Truth. He's around here sometimes as well. Perhaps he will pop in today, and I'm going to try not to be overly critical of his commentary, but you know, as I am certainly a critic by nature. But back to my goings on this morning. You know, some of the purposes of these live streams is you know, I really, you know, don't really have anyone to talk to other than myself, and you know, perhaps whatever random bozo I might happen upon, but generally they want to talk, and I'm an excellent listener. I've trained myself to be a quite good listener, so I end up listening to them more so than talking. It's funny too. I thought I had plenty of energy, and I felt really good and well rested. And it wasn't until I pressed the live button and started talking, I realized now that this is going to be a quite effective day of rest on my 34-hour restart. So, which is really realistically for a truck driver, that's 24 hours off because we take a 10-hour break anyway. So I had my 10-hour break, and now we're into the 24-hour portion. By the way, where is my? I think I'm going to take my tart cherry extract. Where did that go? Imagine living in a big rig and then just everything is lost at various times. So thank you all for listening. Appreciate everybody being here, whether now or in the future, perhaps. Yes, here we go. Tart cherry extract. Fantastic. And I woke up at 10:30 p.m. last night and was able to go back to sleep, thankfully. Started having those racing thoughts we've talked about on here. And I'm much more effective at combating them, especially realizing that when I first wake up after sleeping, in this case, probably 4 hours, 4.5 hours, something like that. And then knowing, well, if I allow these levels of stress and anxiety to continue, then I will never get back to sleep. And this is an opportunity, since I'm not working today, this is a chance to catch up on my sleep. So then, avoiding playing into the racing thoughts, these fears around, I run the big rig all the time. So at some point I need to turn the rig off and actually check the oil. So it's like, oh, I hear some ticking sound. It's like, man, are we getting low on oil? The ticking of the lifters or whatever. And it turned out it was just, I failed to close the cabinet fully or whatever, and I'm sure we all have our own versions of this, right? So that was a thing. And then just did my Walmart run, and I pulled a boner with the eggs, man. And I'm not unhappy with my egg choice, but I'm keeping like 4 days of eggs on hand at all times because I have a fridge, and that's 18 egg yolks a day, folks. And so I was due to purchase 2 to get me back to a total of 4, not counting what I'm having today. And I got the just regular old white, Great Value brand extra large. Got 2 18s. But then I went back into the store. I forgot the lemons, and then I thought, well, I could have more eggs. I could actually have extra eggs. I'll go in there and get, just a little 6-pack, half a dozen eggs. And if I feel like it later, I'll make another egg drink kind of middle of the day, which for me will be around noon, perhaps. And then I saw, oh, they have the fancy Vital eggs, that brand. Not that I recommend any of this, but I would have gotten 3 dozen of those. Not that they're really much better than just the regular old white eggs. They're really not, but and those vary, of course. The quality varies. I've noticed the nutritional content varies widely amongst all of these products in my experience. But I was kicking myself a little bit, right? Oh, and back to the creepy, weird behavior of the ladies in the super center, by the way. I happened to wander into the section where they sell like the mugs, the travel mug type of stuff. Walmart's got a pretty extensive selection of these things these days. Water bottles, stainless steel cups of all types. I think I bought one. Did we make it? It might have ended up in the side box out there. No, here it is. I could show you, but I mean, who even cares? 25-ounce TAL brand cruise tumbler. Let's start making the eggs in that. The new egg receptacle. And so I'm engrossed in scrutinizing these products, and I had squatted all the way down to the bottom shelf to look at this one I ended up buying, and I could sense a presence. And a woman that works there had completely positioned herself within my energy sphere, right? Snuck up on me, and now we're exchanging energies, right? And in my perception, I'm now being somewhat drained, energetically. I could feel just kind of some general crankiness and such, you know, in my in my vicinity. And so what I always do, because now I want to see what is the meaning of this. Because at first I thought she had one of those self shopper carts, where they go out and, well, not self shopper, where they go out and shop for people, for the pickup. And I'm like, what are the chances that, because she's looking at an end cap, and there's the products on the end cap, it's possible, but it's unlikely that somebody is doing pickup, and this is what they're asking for, like one plastic, like 99-cent cup. Yeah, it's possible, but it's unlikely. And just, mathematically, what are the chances that I've been in the store less than 3 minutes, and I'm sort of just, this was not on the list. I've gone kind of impulse purchase style. Now I realize that I did not, in fact, I allowed her to distract me to the point where I realize now this lid doesn't fit very well. Oh, well. Yeah, this is bullshit. Yeah, I've picked up a defective item. Chinese crap, right? I blame the lack of tariffs, perhaps. This is bullshit. Oh, well. It'll still work. If I press on it really hard, it works. And so I'd stand up and kind of walk away, and there are other things I want to look at, but I want to see what the hell she's going to do. I want to know what's the meaning of this. And then I look at her cart, and she's doing service desk returns, right? Whatever, just whatever random stuff ended up at the service desk in these bins. So, okay, this makes some sense. But then after she sees me watching her, she's kind of moving around. And I can tell, like, you know, she didn't need to be standing where she was doing this to be in my fucking aura, right? There's no question about it. And again, what are the chances 90 seconds after I walk in the front door? Like, here she is, just, almost could not be closer to me without physically touching me. And then, what is this, right? What is happening here? And recognizing, for a woman, again, I will never have these experiences, but understanding, some nature of chaos and order, masculine and feminine. It's my contention that in certain circumstances that masculine presence can serve to sort of help the feminine energy be grounded, right? Maybe balance it out a little bit. Uh, Although I don't know that I was getting anything out of it. I certainly was feeling like less peaceful. I was feeling less peaceful than I was moments before. And then she kind of looked, I was just looking right at her, and she kind of looked at me and, kind of smiled or whatever. But it's just, and it reminded me of a feeling I was having in Los Angeles at first, the first several months I was there. This just feeling like people were trying, it was like, what can they get out of me? Like, what is a lot of using, of like seeing other humans as like, what can I take from this person? What can this person provide for me, right? Interesting, but overall a good experience in the super center, certainly. Got some bought some products for the rig to clean the glass and such. Put some Rain-X. Oh man, after the crazy ass rainstorms I've been going through lately, probably it won't rain now. But yeah, the Rain-X for the windshield is certainly a must at a certain point. It's a game changer. Even in the snow makes a big difference. Yeah, I do recommend Rain-X. Not on the side windows though. Made that mistake one time. Yeah, just on the windshield. And I'm going to clean the inside of the glass. I like clean glass, man. Very important. Very important. Very important. And looking at the thumbnail picture that I took, might be time for a shower. Probably time to wash the old hair. Back when I shaved my head, buzzed my hair with clippers, it was less of a concern. Certainly. So we got that going on. Vero Beach. Oh, that's right. I asked Rick where he was at. And they did not even have my apricots, man. What an outrage. That seems to be kind of a regional thing, or they had the Del Monte canned apricot halves. Although they appeared to be sold out, but somebody there was like 4 cans left hidden in the back, top shelf. So we do have apricots. So crisis averted there. And I'm still buying these 1.7 ounce of the 100% cocoa. Maybe I will show this. This is a 1.7 ounces is $4.44. So I stocked up on these again because not all the Walmarts have these. I think they all carry them, but maybe they run out. Probably people steal them, actually. That's the thing about Walmart. The frequently shoplifted items are often out of stock because the computer doesn't know. They've been on computer ordering for a long ass time. The computer doesn't know to order more, right? Of certain items. So we stocked up on those. Those go hard. Way better than now I have some 90% I'm probably just never going to eat, And then could I just give this to somebody, the 90%? It's like, are they just going to be suspicious? Like, why is this random person trying to give me some food? And it's not even the sugar. I think online people keep saying that there's palm oil in this. Maybe there is. I don't know. It's definitely not nearly as high quality of a product. I don't recommend much of anything, but I do like the Lint 100%. Although if one is not prepared for the bitterness, that's going to be that'll be tough sledding. I did the 70% Doves for months and months and got used to it. So I jumped up to the 90, no problem, and then the 100, no issues there. But yeah, I guess we'll get into this EBT stuff, unless I can think. What else was I wanting to tell you all about? I think that was about it. Just random, mundane musings with respect to these products that I bought at the Supercenter. And just, generally observing the people in there was interesting. It's all workers, maybe a couple of customers first thing in the morning. And I noted, and EBT agreed with me, Enslaved by Truth. They do not want you in that Supercenter anymore. But the workers and then the Walmart Corporation wants everybody to just do the pickup. Which is probably half the reason why these ladies are, creeping on me when I'm in the Supercenter. They're probably, trying to see if they can meet a man in the Supercenter, because otherwise, at this point, I just want to ask them, like, why aren't you doing pickup? I believe in freedom and all of this. Like, I'm not here to say what the fuck is this, and I'm in there, but as a truck driver, I don't necessarily know. Logistically, it would be difficult to plan ahead and to do the ready for pickup side of it on an ongoing basis. So it doesn't really make sense for me, but for a lot of folks, I wonder what percentage of their business now is pickup, where they, select their products on the app and then have someone shop for them. I wonder. And then do those people get tipped? Does anybody tip those folks? I would, I guess. I like to tip. I like to tip people who aren't normally tipped. And then, like when they washed my truck, I gave the dude $10. I had a flat tire quite a while ago before I went to Los Angeles, and gave the guy $20. Kid in his 20s, and I think he had just started working at the Walmart there, the tire and lube center, and he was basically like pretty much just said, yeah, now he's more or less was like, now I can eat today. He was quite excited. And how many folks are in that boat, right? And then the shame attached to, working, especially people working a job and then, you know, literally eating ramen noodles, or, maybe their lunch is like a small bag of chips or whatever, while they're working at the super center, or maybe not even having enough money to buy, any of that, right? But greatest country on earth, most of, richest country and all of this. Yeah, I'm not sure that's true. Uh, maybe the wealth at the top, perhaps, but that does not seem to be the case for much of the populace. Was this made in China? Made in China, yeah. And then, how much, and another thing about the tariffs, I don't know a lot about tariffs, but it seems to me like it's actually going to hurt the small people. It's going to hurt the small mom and pops way more because, Walmart, uh, they're always going to be able to weather the storm, right? Walmart, Amazon, whoever, you know, Walmart won't have to just tack on a percentage. If they want to competitively, if they need to, they can just keep the prices the same, which, by the way, are going up over time anyway, right? In a lot of categories, they don't necessarily have to drop the prices. So at a certain point, maybe the mom and pop, their wholesale price, could be higher than what Walmart, charges the customer. What's up, Christos? Christos in the chat. Good to see you, sir. Yeah. Yep. Interesting. Just the things I think about. Let me find the phone. Maybe I do want to play this EBT. I found it interesting. Uh, it's a bit of a cope, but as I've said, it's basically all of life is a cope as far as this is everything's. What's not a cope on some level? All right. Shout out to John Wayne once again. But hang on, let me turn the earbuds off and hopefully the phone mic. There will be background noise. Just prepare yourselves. It's we're in a running big rig. Hello, mic check. Mic check. Mic check. All right, here we go. Let me know if as long as you can hear what he's saying, that's really all we're going for here.
You should strive to be as much like Christ as you possibly could.
Hang on, I'm starting it over.
And that you should.
Now, do we play the whole thing? It's 7 minutes, and then I can comment, or I will pause it a bazillion times and we'll never get through it. So I guess I'll do my best to play the whole thing. I don't know. We'll see.
I think that you should strive to be as much like Christ as you possibly could be. And that you should focus your life on that archetype, on that, even if it is just an egregore, you should focus yourself to be as Christ-like as possible. You should strive every day to unite yourself with the Almighty.
Well, yeah, we didn't make it very far. I knew I was going to have to pause it. And is EBT being heard through the phone speaker? I don't know. I will assume so until told otherwise. If not, we may have to abort the mission. But so what I found immediately fascinating about his comments is the first thought I have is, yeah, that sounds great. How? Right? How does one do that? Hey, it's John Wayne. There you go. Yeah, I'll make some French hot cocoa, perhaps. It's a good idea, John Wayne. We're playing your clip, by the way, and I shouted you out on my community post tab there, and y'all subscribe to Mr. John Wayne, because that's how I found this snippet. If I was not already subscribed, I don't know that it would have showed up in my feed. So, how about that? And I believe, it seems to me like we, the people that come to this channel, this is a lot of what, I've been discussing with the audience and with myself, is how to do these things, right? What he's talking about here, being as Christ-like as possible. If we, the listeners, if the people involved in the discourse are even able to agree on what that means. But, for me, it would be, the example from the Gospels, right? These stories of, this oral tradition, and some would say, well, that was never a real person, and that's all made up. That's fine. I get nothing out of, if anybody, again, not my concern, but certainly everyone can recognize that these are concepts, that they do exist, even if only through many of the individuals, that are in the realm at this time, right? So anyway, we'll go back and see if we can make it a little further into EBT's commentary here. We made it 35 seconds before I interrupted.
In whatever way that you can. And there's no problem with parody. There's no problem with satire. There's no problem with the kind of humor that we do here today, because God himself is a comedian. And at the end of the day, nobody knows exactly who God is or what God is.
Well, I do. I know what it is. It's the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level. But then again, now I'm a flawed, limited human being speaking the English language, having thoughts and all of this. So what does that even mean, right? But I know this at an experiential level within myself. But he's right. We can't know, because collectively, there's no way for the people to collectively know until, perhaps enough individuals, discovered for themselves. And again, I have no way of knowing. I can only know this from my own perspective, my own inner knowing. I have no way of knowing any of this from another person's perspective.
But we know there is something that is higher than ourselves.
See, I disagree with that. What I've learned and what I've found is there is nothing higher than my essence. But so when he says there's something higher than ourselves, I believe that's backwards. I believe, or I'm contending, let me be clear, I'm asserting in this moment that that's backwards. The relevant factor is not to look at what is greater than me, right? It's to look at what's lower than me if I know what I am, right? So if I know inside of myself that God is love, and that love is defined as the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, and then I know that the kingdom of that force is within me, right? By the way, these are all concepts from the Holy Bible, the Holy Scriptures. Then if I go inside myself, and when I do connect with my essence, in fact, there is nothing higher than me to the degree with which I'm able to identify properly with my own true nature. So what I would say is absolutely there is something higher than what? This realm of death and destruction. There is absolutely something higher than the aspects of myself that I am manifesting in a given moment when I falsely fail to identify within myself with my own true nature, and I am not expressing the essence of the most super intelligent force of love possible in a given moment. So this is backwards, right? So of course, of course, inverted realm has people thinking and expressing backwards, because who does that serve? What does that serve? That serves to further reinforce the realm of death and destruction, in my estimation. And this is a part of why the intention is not, a lot of people want to point to having an intention, or well, what is their intention, but the intention is not going to get the person there, because look at how easily it is to fall into folly and error from my perspective, right? I have no way of even proving outside of myself that I'm even correct here, right? It's debatable. Anytime we're involving other humans outside of ourselves, it's now debatable. But what does the corporatized, society, to exist within a corporatized structure, a series of corporatized structures, which makes up America, where everything is a business, that's to be in a system that does everything possible to make all humans more alike than unalike, right? So that we are now addressable via larger systems, or systems that comprise the overall system, right? So I understand why many humans are fooled and falsely believe that there's this we, right? When actually, no, when it comes to these topics and these spiritual practices, that's all. I'm only able to address any of that within me. That's not addressable outside of me, right? Not in a way that can be anything other than corrupt, because all systems of man are corrupt in my observance. And where there's corruption, there will be, the personification of evil, right? That's the kingdom of the enemy, right? This world, the way I see it, right?
There's something higher than ourselves that is calling us, that is telling us there's something beyond who we are, there's something beyond who you are.
Yes, and it's inside of me. That's what's important here. The system of death and destruction is served when a person approaches this as EBT is approaching it, from the perspective of there's something outside of me greater than me. But then the disempowering part of that is I'm diminished and I'm lower than by comparison. Meanwhile, when a person looks at the evil in this realm, the death in this realm, the destruction in this realm, the wickedness on display, the lack of morality, right? Well, what level is that operating on? So what I would say is there's something in me that's much greater than death. There's something in me that's much greater than destruction, right? There's something in me that is the opposite of lowly, right? This realm, in comparison to what's inside of me, is what's lowly. This realm of death and destruction, when identified with its own death and destruction, when it would say, if it would, okay, more correctly, if its master, right, which is the lowest levels of evil, the lowest levels. So if my essence is identified with the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, the highest vibrational frequencies, the antithesis of that would then be, the lowest forms of evil, the lowest vibrational frequencies, right? Then if that force was to look at my essence, and then if I could force that low level energy to tell the truth, it would say what's inside of Benton is much greater than the death and destruction and evil that I represent. And I don't even like to say that. That even doesn't feel right, see? But in that thought experiment that I'm going through, see, in this moment. So look at how quickly someone who is otherwise intelligent, someone who, you know, was given a series of religious beliefs or a collection of religious beliefs, right, who has been, you know, practicing something for their whole life, but then who or what has been served by these practices when a bozo like me can so effortlessly point out the flaws in this approach, right? I don't have the luxury of approaching this from the perspective of, well, there's something outside of me that's much higher than me, right? No, I'm in a realm in which the realm is much lower than me, see? But my psychology is created in such a way that to make it just to do everything it can to never get me to express that idea. Because how will the people around me feel? What will they think of themselves? And this, by the way, this is the practice of what actual Christianity is supposed to be. This is why I won't call myself a Christian, because actual what Christianity is supposed to be is revolutionary. What more revolutionary act is there in this realm of death and destruction, this heaven or hell realm manifesting as a hell realm, to just understand that I'm delivering a performance before all of creation, before the entire universe itself, and I'm audacious enough to just say, yes, it turns out that in this realm, there's nothing greater than me. What's in me is greater than anything else in this realm. That anything that is as great as what is in me is what is in me, meaning the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, the highest vibrational levels of frequency possible. So if that's also the so-called Nancy Pelosi divine spark within MS3, meaning all humans have this divine spark or had it, if that's the case, again, I don't have any way of knowing, right? But that means within each human lies that essence, and we all tie each other at the level of our true essence as being the greatest force in this realm. Meaning anything in this realm that is not expressly the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level is by its very definition lower than me. Meaning anything I worship or bow down to or allow to have authority over me in this realm is to bow down to something lower than myself, which is what I see practiced in this realm when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to religion, when it comes to going to church, when it comes to so-called Christianity. Because I don't see anybody brave enough and bold enough to say, yeah, what's in me is greater than anything that this realm could possibly imagine or experience. Because if it could, would it really be out here trying to disprove that very proposition of the highest levels of vibrational frequency possible? Because make no mistake, what this realm is manifesting as, what this realm is operating as, is the attempt to disprove or the attempt to prove the invalidity at the level of antithesis of that force. That's what this place is, right? So for a person to say, just de facto, as if it's common sense, there's something much greater than us, and putting us, meaning putting the individuals in the realm on team lowly, wretched creature, right? That's system talk. That serves the system of death and destruction and wickedness and depravities of all kinds. See? And the system says, look at EBT, look at little old enslaved by truth. I had him since day one because I designed his psychology and I installed his psychology. And look at him as he thinks he's on the right track. His own words prove that he don't know what in the fuck he's talking about. He don't know what he's talking about. Forgive them, most super intelligent force of love possible, for they know not what they do. And I can't speak for well, maybe I can. Maybe if I tap into my own true essence inside of myself, maybe I can speak for that, right? So maybe that force would say, well, it turns out all I'm capable of is forgiveness. So sure, but guess what? Unless you, right? Forget about that. Forget about you. Unless Benton expresses my nature or his essence, which is one with the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, if he doesn't express that, he's expressing death, destruction, evil, and wickedness, whether he knows it or not. I'm pretty sure EBT doesn't understand, right? Again, forgive them, most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level. He doesn't understand what he's expressing. See, because what he's expressing sounds good on paper. Oh, well, I'm a member of humanity, and we see how wretched and lowly and decadent and depraved and evil behaving and demonic humanity is expressing as in this realm of death and destruction, this heaven or hell realm presently manifesting as a hell realm. We see that. And do you see the misidentification? So, of course, the individual left to their own devices will just do what? By default, will identify as if that's their nature. That is not my nature. Now, I don't know EBT's nature. These experiences are not set up for me to know his nature. If he's actually examined his internal space and he's saying there's something that there's something much greater than us and putting humanity individually into a collection, I would say, sir, you're proving you don't know what the fuck is going on inside of you, or what's going on inside of you is not what's going on inside of me. See, that's revolutionary. So that's what's supposed to be Christianity. It's a revolution. It's a revolution expressed through what? The rebellious human, or more correctly, a individual rebellious human, Benton in this case, saying, well, actually, I'm done allowing my creative force, which never lies dormant and always brings something new into the realm moment by moment. I'm through allowing that to default to serving evil, to serving wickedness, to serving death, to serving the destruction. I'm done with that. And I am going to, in a revolutionary fashion, in each new moment, as much as I'm able, I'm going to serve the most super intelligent force of love possible, come what may. See, I believe that's what EBT probably intends to be expressing here, but he's not. That's not what he's expressing. That's not what's being served by this discourse. And what other choice do I have but to say, well, actually, sir, you're proving that you don't know what you're talking about, and that's okay, because the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level can't do nothing but forgive you. But it's not going to forgive, meaning how can it forgive something that the Bible says, right? Lo here, lo there, the gnashing of teeth. Hey, in the final days, hey, Lord Jesus, we did all of this in your name. Why are you destroying us? And then Jesus Christ saying, well, I never knew you. Meaning, yeah, I can't do nothing but forgive, but I don't even know what you are. If I'm the proposition and I'm one with the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, I don't know nothing about death. I don't know nothing about destruction. I don't know nothing about evil. I don't know nothing about wickedness. I don't experience that, right? Now, some would say part of this story of the Bible was Christ actually, you know, in the story of the Bible, Christ did experience those things, the underworld, right? The physical death and then traveling through the underworld. What I would say is that was a representation of the transcendence of all of that. And once the person or the being escapes the limitation, now it would even is it even arguable that Christ could possibly be limited by those things? See, I don't think so. Doesn't seem to me like that's even possible, but I'm just doing a thought experiment based on the story of the Bible. Who knows? Again, dead scripture, right? The only way for the scripture to live is for what? It's for the individual to comprehend it well enough to express it in a given moment. See? Otherwise, scripture's dead, because the church will tell you, well, you got to do what the government tells you, because the Bible says, render unto Caesar. Well, the Bible also says, let the dead bury the dead. I think Christ himself said that in the Bible. Now, he didn't say that because the man didn't speak English, as far as I know. But again, if I'm willing to accept the inherent problems with the King James version of the, in English of the Holy Bible, right? Then, yeah, okay, let the dead bury the dead. Well, isn't that another way of saying render unto Caesar what it belongs to Caesar? Is it, to me, that's Christ speaking in a context and saying, well, we're all here in the realm of death and destruction. All Caesar cares about is how much riches he can store up in this realm of death and destruction. So it seems to me like Caesar is saying that, hey, what is valued in this realm belong to me, Jack, and you're going to owe me a portion. If you think you're going to come out here and do business in this realm of death and destruction, then you're going to owe me a portion. See, pay your taxes, right? Death and taxes. So what that I interpret that to mean is the Lord, or the most super intelligent force of love possible, saying, hey, let the dead bury the dead. These motherfuckers out here seeking death, let them have it. Let them have it. Let them have it. So if I'm identified with the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, it seems to me like if EBT wants to go out there and seek something outside of himself, right? If he's going to seek something outside of himself that's greater than him, I already know that he's very likely to find death and destruction awaiting him. Render unto Caesar. Let the dead bury the dead, Jack. Because nothing is leaving this place that is not the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level. Nothing escapes this place if it ain't exactly that. Something about a narrow path through a straight gate, or however that is. Isn't that not what that means? If it ain't exactly this thing, it can't pass out of the opening to leave this motherfucker, right? It's all right there. It's all right there. But go into a building, as I did as a youth, as EBT did as a youth, presumably, go into a building and listening to the bozos, that's never going to get the individual to be able to comprehend and apprehend and have these experiences via practice within myself well enough to explain all of this. It's never going to happen. Because what's the system going to do? The system's going to do everything in its power to do what? To perpetuate its own death and destruction, to continue to perpetuate itself. That's all this realm is. Now, I shouldn't say all this realm is. That's what this realm is. It's a self-perpetuating, right? Self-perpetuating system via the subversion of the creative force of the vast majority of all the individuals who are right here, right now in this realm. And that creates a machine. See, and this shout out to the Machine Lies channel. That's what this is. It represents technologies and machinery. And if you look at it as like Moloch, right? This realm as Moloch, or just this one Skynet, this one overarching machine that's operating, these various systems of man, and the smaller machinery of the smaller systems that make up the whole system, the whole machine, right? As far as the personification, the lowest levels of evil are concerned, right? Death, destruction, decadence, depravity, and on and on and on, right? The lowest of the low, right? It's one overarching machine that serves all of that, right? That's what EBT is referring to. He doesn't know that that's what he's referring to. And you know how I can prove it? Because listen to these people talk as if America can be fixed, as if making America great again could somehow create a paradise on earth, right? Oh, let's turn it into a machine that serves humanity, that serves God, that serves the Most High. That ain't possible, sir. That's not possible. All humans are capable of doing is creating machinery, systems, and mechanisms that creates one overarching Moloch machine that serves death and destruction, right? And all efforts directed towards business, earning of money, and all of these, whatever's going on in society, that's all dead. It is destroyed. There is no life there. And we all know it. We all know there's no life in whatever we do for a living. We all know there's no life in these Federal Reserve notes. We all know that there's little to no life in my trip to the super center other than what little bit of sustenance and nutrition is available. But again, that only feeds the body anyway. So if we look at mind, body, and spirit, that's very, very limited, right? That's what, okay, give just enough life to a thing that's dead anyway, right? I mean, what are we even talking about, right? But then to be so closely identified with this realm and to be creating new humans and bringing them into this realm, right? I mean, that's what's happening. And then, if I'm EBT or I'm, somebody with children, how can I raise my children in this? And I'm just going to tell them what this place is. Because they're probably going to look at me and say, well, why would you bring me into this? Goodness gracious, that sounds horrible. Why did you bring me here? Right? Who wants to be responsible for that? So that has to be justified. So what better way to justify what the person has done, even though they may not have understood what they were doing at the time? What better way to justify that than to be able to, at a psychological level, so closely identify with what's happening here that, well, it has to be, it can't just be all for naught. That's not possible. See, we're starting out with a premise. We're starting out biased. We're saying, well, I can't possibly have been inserted into a realm of death and destruction that's effectively irredeemable, right? And that no matter what humans do when they click up together, that they are not capable of doing anything at a mass level other than serving death and destruction. Now, the potential is there, of course, and that's why I say heaven or hell realm manifesting as a hell realm. See, So who wants to face that reality? So what these folks are doing is they're starting by operating from a premise where that can't possibly be the case, which is what? Sounds like a supposition to me. Presup, anyone? Interesting. Interesting, truthers. We've got a supposition, but question everything, truthers. Question everything except the possibility of being inserted into this present system of things, and it's just as irredeemable today as it was back then, and it's never, the realm itself has probably never expressed itself based on redeemable quality, or more correctly, behaviors that represent the most super intelligent force of love possible. So when the Bible talks about Christ coming back to destroy the wicked, to me, that's not even what that means. You know, to me, that's religious dogma, right? Dead scripture. It's backwards. To me, what that means is, well, what this place is, it cannot leave this place to return to its true nature, because this is the place of death and destruction. This is where death and destruction and evil and depravity just naturally ends up. See, is here. And that's where I ended up. Wow. But see, here's what I find fascinating. If my essence, as I contend, is the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, it can't fear the underworld where Christ in the Bible went to. Maybe this is the underworld, right? It seems to be operating as an underworld based on how I'm describing it, based on how I'm experiencing it. So the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, it doesn't seem to me like that force is capable of fearing a trip to the underworld. See, it's not capable of that. So maybe that's how I got here, right? And maybe the antithesis of that force said, okay, well, I found a way, right? There's a way to create a delusion, right? That you can, that it's possible to divide what is an otherwise indivisible force, the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, and through delusion, we will make it seem like it's possible to break off a little chunk of that essence, and then it'll go into a human body, right? And then we'll have a human experience in a realm that will seem to be a solid material realm, when even science claims to have proven that, well, it's all vibrating energy, matter of frequency. Okay. And then, you know, your brain, your five senses decodes the frequencies and makes it seem solid, right? Including my physical body, right? Makes sense to me. Good morning, Rebecca Joe. Anyway, listen to more EBT here. Otherwise, there's really no point in me being on the speakerphone.
There's something beyond who we are. There's something beyond all of this, to which is what we call God.
Well, and sorry for the quick pause there, but see, this is why this we talk has been bothering me so much for so long, because I can't know anything at the level of we. And that's why I get so annoyed and I let myself get annoyed, and I talk about the word of mouthing and the common sensing of everything, and the bemoaning of, oh, there's no more common, people don't have common sense anymore. Well, common sense created a motherfucking hell realm, people. So I don't know that common sense is really what should be looked to. Meanwhile, what can I experience at a level of we that's not death and destruction? You know, other than maybe, you know, the love of my mother and father, perhaps, right? Like what is there to experience? at a collective level. Seems to me like the only, for virtually the only valuable experience is to connect to my essence by going within myself. See, which is always going to be an I and a me, never a you and me and we. And the system says, well, hey, I'm just a machine. I'm the Moloch machine of the system, and I've had the pleasure of designing and installing your psychology. So look at how you can't open your motherfucking mouth without saying us and we. See, because it's scary to identify as little old me. It might be scary. It might be disorienting to look at things as if perhaps I am the only thing happening here. Well, guess what, folks? If my essence is one with the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, and that force is in fact indivisible, then I guess it is only me on some level. How about you? It is only me in a way. I cannot experience, I cannot express, see, as anything other than the I am. Sounds singular to me. And that's probably why that we are all one at the highest level always bothered me. I have no way of knowing that. I can never confirm that. And who, by the way, what is served by the fact that it's impossible for me to ever, with 100% certainty, know that all of the individuals here, or most of them, or some of them, have the capacity of, number one, having that as their nature. Number two, getting out of their own way enough to express their own actual nature. And that probably, I say heaven or hell realm, I don't even have no way of knowing if it's even possible if enough individuals collectively began to express that nature. See? But I can absolutely know all of that within myself. 100%, with 100% certainty, I can be certain of that within myself at the level of my experience. I just can't make it your experience. See? And when the individuals who are here are psychologically incapable of grasping what I'm talking about here, the system never loses. The Moloch machine cannot lose. See, at least moment by moment. But remember, the antithesis in the spiritual war, the antithesis of the most super intelligent force of love possible, it needs the moment where it can hit that buzzer, push that plunger down, and appeal to legalese, or via legalese, and appeal to, I don't know, justice or whatever, law, and say, well, actually, turns out it's hell realm, because we can't even find one individual that is expressing what was purported to be the essence of these individual humans, the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level. You know, God is love, the kingdom of God is within you type shit. Well, it turns out that I was believed in speaking for evil here. So I don't even want to speak for evil. It feels too dirty. So, in this devil's advocate type of situation, that the Al Pacino from the movie can say, well, actually, turns out that my proposition is correct, right? Or Al Pacino's proposition is correct, because not even one of these bozos is expressing in any given moment, in any new moment, they're not affirming the validity of that force. So now the enemy gets to appeal via legalese to the law and say, well, turns out that we were mistaken all along. That is the spiritual war between good and evil. It's evil attempting to prove via legalese, via what, by the way? The behavior of humans collectively. But the plunger moment never comes as long as one single human being in any given moment says, absolutely not, I'm a revolutionary, I'm turning my back on my own rebellious nature, and as a revolutionary act in this moment, I'm going to raise my hand and say, I am that one. I am that one. And what anybody thinks about it is dead, because that's their opinion. Their opinion belongs to this realm of death and destruction. That's where their opinion belongs. What I am can never be entrapped in this place. What I am can come here every day of the week and twice on Sunday, y'all, and never have to worry its pretty little head about what calamities may befall it, because this place can't touch my essence. This place can't do nothing to me, because I am not from here, and no matter what happens, I'm getting up out of here. Praise Almighty God in the mighty name of Christ Jesus. Jesus Christ is Lord. And if that offends you, that's dead too. Not my concern. And if this ain't some powerful tent revival preaching, I don't know what is. It's a revolution. But it's not a revolution of me going out here and waking up the people. It's not a revolution of me saying, get on the bus. You know, I got room in the trailer, right? You know, and let's go. Now we're going to sing Kumbaya and come together and have a movement. No, that serves the system. That's Moloch's machine. That comes from my psychology and your psychology, see? That comes from the psychology of the system. The system designed and installed the psychology of, well, okay, great. Now that I understand these things that Benton said, now it's just all we got to do is create, team, get on the team and fix it all, right? No, absolutely not. All that's going to do is continue to further strengthen and perpetuate this Moloch machine, right? Also known as society. And that's what this is, folks. That's what this is. This is what is happening. Don't kill the messenger.
And that we should seek unity with that thing to which we all know is our ultimate beginning, or ultimate source.
Amen, brother. Number one, how? Number two, where? Or more correctly, number one, where? Number two, how? Because I'm going to tell you, it ain't outside of you, partner. Keep seeking something outside of yourself and think that you're going to get to what you want, what you say you want to get to. Because I've done it. So I will answer your question. How? Well, I'm sorry. You didn't ask how. See, this is the perfect example of what I talk about with an internalization versus an externalization. It's what serves Moloch's machine via psychology is for when the person has the right intent, right? If I can assert that EBT is speaking from a proper intent, right? If that's correct, well, looky here. The psychology of the system by the system to reinforce the system, the psychology says, let me look everywhere but where that is. Let me go look everywhere except where that lives, right? At least the accessible forms. Because I went inside of myself and discovered, wow, yes, it turns out that my nature is one with the most super intelligent force of love possible. And everything about me that is not one with that, in fact, is not me, belongs to this realm of death and destruction. Let the dead bury the dead and render unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar, meaning government, this body belongs, you can have it. It's dead anyway. Caesar, the things you're storing up, Caesar, they're dead anyway. My ability to earn a living via Federal Reserve notes, that's dead. Here, have it, Caesar. Who cares? You want out of my 4 paychecks, you want one of them? Here, take it. Who cares? I'll have it waiting on you when you come for it. I may not volunteer it, but I'll have it in an account somewhere, right? I will have made sure that I kept it. It's safekeeping, but you're going to have to come get it, Caesar. When you come for it, here you go, Caesar. Here's your death reserve notes that you want so badly. You're welcome to them. They're dead anyway, partner. Same thing with the body. The body's dead on a long enough timeline. You want the body, government? Take it. Render unto Caesar. Let the dead bury the dead. This realm will bury everything that's dead. Everything that is identified with this realm is dead and will be buried. The only thing escaping this place is the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, and that's that straight path through the narrow gate. That's all that can go through there. Everything that can't go through that is death and destruction. There's nothing in between. Right? Nothing.
That thing that we do call God, we should strive to be one with that thing.
No, we shouldn't strive to be one with that thing.
We should love one another.
Because striving to be that thing, that's an idea of Moloch's machine that serves Moloch's machine. Because now we're going outside again and striving to do something where? Outside. Go inside. The kingdom of God is within me. So where is it not? Outside of me. This is obvious. Forget about where it is. Where isn't it? The kingdom of God is not outside of you. How about that? What is outside of you is what? Death, destruction, depravity, wickedness. That's what's outside of you, because that's what you've entered into. Your essence was somewhere else doing whatever it does, right? And via a delusion, it's now here, human consciousness, right? The idea that it's possible to break off a little chunk of the most super intelligent force of love possible, a soul, put it in a body, right, and trap it in a heaven or hell realm, and let the antithesis have a shot at it, right, Book of Job style. Well, my essence can't fear any of that, so why would it, my essence, when it was somewhere else, bebopping around? Why wouldn't it happen upon, this proposition, right? Or more correctly, that force is a proposition. That force says, well, this is what I am. This is my nature. Here I am. And there's an antithesis of that proposition. It says, well, actually, turns out that I'm, more powerful than that. And if I encased you in a delusion, and if I put you into a hell realm and a death realm and gave you this human consciousness, and if I got to design your psychology and install it in your pretty little head, then what we would see is that over the centuries, eventually, every single motherfucking one of you little aspects of the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest levels of vibrational frequency would in fact prove through your actions my validity. Is what the enemy is. This is what the enemy is asserting. This is the spiritual war. And this is what you are probably in. I don't know for sure. I can only experience all of this. Again, back to the solipsism. I'm only able to experience this in this realm of delusion, right? I can only be 100% sure when it comes to myself and my experience and my walk. That's how this is designed, folks. Because the enemy, in order for the enemy to win, again, the enemy has to get all of those little human individuals to simultaneously refuse rebelliously to express their own nature, to turn their back on what they are. So when we listen to EBT, he's telling us to do these things that sound like they're going to serve humanity and the greater good. And I'm using brutal logic to explain, well, if we just do what EBT's telling us, we're guaranteeing, or more correctly, it would guarantee and ensure that I will not express my true nature, and that in fact I will end up affirming not the thesis or the proposition. I will actually end up affirming the antithesis, or more correctly, literal motherfucking Satanism. So literal motherfucking Satanism will talk about God and Jesus and greater than this and greater than that, and you know, we should love each other and do this and do that. But the way it's being described, I'm just using I am using brutal logic to explain why. Well, if we actually do what's being set forth here in EBT's discourse, it's a virtual guarantee that none of this will actually come to pass. Isn't that amazing? And I'll walk the motherfucking room, Jack, because this ain't for everybody. This ain't for everybody. Hey, what do they say? The wicked flee where none pursueth, right? I've never been a big fan of that one either, but it is apropos at times. You know, this ain't for everybody. Some of them can't handle the truth, and that's okay. Let's back him up about 10 seconds here, 20 seconds.
All know is our ultimate beginning, our ultimate source.
Again, our ultimate beginning. Our ultimate beginning. That's never verifiable, because I cannot verify anything outside of my experience when it comes to these spiritual matters. So when anybody that begins with the concept of we and our when it comes to spiritual matters cannot succeed. It makes it impossible simply by going into those thought forms. It guarantees the individual will never, ever get to proper identification of with their own true nature, to where they will express in most of the given moments, right, the now, right? If each now is a trial, and if each now, either what I do and what I bring into existence via my creative force in each new now, right? It just left, now it's here. It just left, now it's here, right? The now, if that only ever serves the most high or the lowest of the low, and there's nothing in between, what EBT is describing here will only ever serve the lowest of the low, because it's something I can't even be held responsible for. It's something I can't even directly access. The we, the collective. I'm not going to be held to answer for what the collective does. I don't have the power to address the collective at the level of operation. Surprise, surprise. If I'm willing to get out of my own way and practice long enough, guess what I can control? Guess what I can interrogate? Guess what I can investigate? My own internal space. Everything inside of me. Everything that's not we. Everything that ain't we. See how it's all backwards? All we got to do is call it opposite day and reverse, just exactly reverse what he's talking about. And I say, yeah, that will work. If I take what you're saying, sir, and reverse it, yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. But you're telling it to me in the form of Moloch's machine. Why, sir? Why? I guess I could impugn you, or not even impugn. I guess I could project a proper motive onto you and just say, well, he's confused. And perhaps that's the case. Anyway, back to what he has to say.
There's something beyond who we are. There's something beyond who you are. There's something beyond who we are. There's something beyond all of this, to which is what we call God. And that we should seek unity with that thing to which we all know is our ultimate beginning, our ultimate source. That thing that we...
No, see, I know it, sir. And it took me 15 years to get to know it, of daily practice. We're never going to know it, meaning collectively. The collective cannot know this. If the collective could know this, this could not be a hell realm, because of how I explain the delusion, the idea that it's possible to break off a chunk of what is most likely an indivisible force. See? The delusion. So it's also the delusion that any of this is achievable via collective means. Again, Moloch's machine.
You call God. We should strive to be one with that thing.
Best intentions.
And we should love one another. We should do unto others what we would have done unto ourselves.
Well, that's interesting. To get them drunk, I guess. Get them drunk.
We should follow the natural law. We should respect each other's properties. We should respect each other's lives. We should respect each other's wives.
Okay, see, I love this part of the discourse. I agree. Except should doesn't enter into it, sir.
This is my version.
Should doesn't enter into it because guess what? I've come to understand, because I have achieved this realization of what I am, the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level. That's my essence and nature. Guess what? When I express my nature, I do everything he's explaining here, and I don't do the opposite of those things. I do respect other people's property when I express my true nature. I do respect all of these things. See, it's not a choice. It's not a discipline. The discipline is the disciplining of my own mind. Love is a discipline of the mind, see. It's the continuous disciplining of my mind is what allows me to express my true nature in more and more of each new moment. And when I express my true essence or nature in a given moment, I can't disrespect somebody else's property. I don't have that capacity. See? Interesting. It's backwards. Again, it's backwards.
The other part of what's going on is that I believe that we're watching some kind of Sidonic Discordian theater. We're watching a start.
You're right. Yeah, it's death and destruction. It's death and destruction. You're absolutely right. And see, now we're transitioning into the gallows humor portion, because he's about to start talking about humor and mirth. Yes, you're right. Gallows humor, because what you're describing and referring to here, sir, is identified with death and destruction.
Sonic Discordian theater that's being pushed out to our eyeballs and our ear holes on a daily basis. That's always been part of what this channel is about. Is that if you can't make fun of the sardonic Discordian propaganda that's being pushed out to your eyeballs and your ear holes on a daily basis.
Well, and what I would say, sir, is if you can't experience this place while being identified properly with what may be your true nature, again, I'm not you, so I don't know, but when I correctly identify with myself inside of myself and express my true nature, which is one with the most super intelligent force of love possible, I have no use for gallows humor, sir. It serves no purpose for me. I don't need to make everything into a funny meme to get through the day. See?
If you can't make fun of it,
how about I
sure that you really understand it.
How about I transcend the need, sir?
It's between you. It's between me. It's between all of us. It's between each individual.
See, he won't say it.
And our Creator.
He won't say it. It's got to be collective. He won't just say, spiritually, it's what I do that matters. He won't say it.
And it's also
because he knows he's fucked.
Not only between us individuals and our Creator, it's between me and you.
Sir, you might be right, but you're wrong, because you're not making it about you. and the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level. How can you name everything but that, sir? He's naming everything but him and his, what he's referring to as his creator. That would have to be an element of this if you're going to then connect it to everything else. But remember, kids, if I'm unwilling to, through a process of continuously disciplining my mind over a period of many, many years, to get to the point of even being able to explain all of this, and the explanations can't ever be a proxy, right? But maybe some people can find some value in the explanation. Why is he leaving out the one form of power, and he's only referring to the parts that I contend will only lead to disempowerment? The me and the you and the it and the they and the them. How about the me and it? How about me and the most super intelligent force of love possible and nothing else? How about that? Can we focus on that? Because that's where power lies. That's where power lies, between me and that force. And it turns out, same motherfucking thing, Jack. But let's hear EBT tell us how to go to everywhere and experience everything but that one thing.
Eyeballs in your ear holes on a daily basis that you can't make fun of it. I'm not sure that you really understand. But at the end of the day, it's between you, it's between me, it's between all of us. It's between each individual and our Creator, right?
See, but he won't apply it to himself. He said each individual and their Creator. He'll get as close as he can to the real thing without going into it. That is Satanism, by the way. I'm not calling him a Satanist. I'm saying this is, what's being described here is Satanism. Satanism will go everywhere except that one place. Guess what? It can't go. It will go everywhere, but the one place it can't go. Right? Back to the Lord's Prayer. Right? The one place Satanism can't go. The house of the Lord. The house of the most super intelligent force of love possible. And if God is love, and if love is the most super intelligent force of, highest vibrational frequencies possible at the highest level, and if that kingdom of that force is within me, well, death and destruction and Satanism and evil and wickedness gets to go everywhere except the house of that force. See, he can't even enter in his own discourse. He can't even enter into the house of the Lord within his own discourse. He'll get as close as possible. This is what the Bible, well, not the Bible, this is what Thomas Merton meant when he said that Satan is happy to preach the gospel as long as he can preach it his own way. This ain't Jesus's gospel from the Bible. This is Satan's gospel. This is the antithesis. LARPing as thesis. This is antithesis, LARPing as thesis, because it can't go to that one place. The holiest of holies, it cannot enter into. See, what is the holiest of holies? Well, it can only ever be me and that force. From my perspective, how could it be anything else? Oh, but see now what's being worshipped? Me. But the realm wants me to worship everything outside of me. Everything outside of me belong to death and destruction. All they that hate me love death. It's backwards, again, from the Bible. Everybody that hates the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level loves the antithesis, which is everything that belongs to this place. death, destruction, evil, and wickedness. So there's nothing for me to fear, because what I am can never remain here. What I am don't belong here. What I am is a revolution solely based on understanding and grasping within myself what my nature is, and then just saying, well, I have no fear of expressing my nature in this valley of the shadow of death. What I am can't fear evil. It can't fear wickedness. It can't fear Caesar. It can't fear the fake pandemic. It can't fear the government. It's not capable. So EBT, who may have a proper intention, is so fooled and so identified with death and destruction that he in his own discourse will come as close as possible to the thing itself without referring to the thing itself. You heard it out of his own mouth. But what that is, by the way, that is the surrender. The Bible talks about falling to one's knees and worshiping, right? The Most High, right? That's the me and that force and nothing else. No other individuals need to be referred to. No we's need to be referred to. No us's need to get on a bus and bring home the big win for Team Humanity and making America great again, and greatest country ever. Oh, the country that's done the best job ever at being most closely aligned with evil, wickedness, death, and destruction. Well, if you want to call it that, then yeah, I guess it is the greatest thing since sliced motherfucking bread from the perspective of evil. Yeah, I guess it is the greatest nation in the history of the realm of death and destruction. I guess, yeah, from that perspective, I guess it is. I guess it is. I guess it is. And all questions are answered via what I'm speaking of. It's all answered within me when I'm connected to and properly identified with that force that is my essence. All questions are answered. Only the realm of death and destruction can ask a question in a whataboutism, right? In a killing of the messenger. That belongs to this place. That's dead, see? And if the realm and Moloch's machine is served and replicates and is supported when I rebelliously refuse to properly identify. So I can't even answer that question. I would have to degenerate my own essence to identifying with death and destruction, if that's even possible. I don't know if it is. So let me go further into delusion, right? To answer your query, right? To answer your query. Well, when I'm identified with my essence and nature, I can't answer your query because your query's dead. Your query belonged to this place. Your query can't leave this place. I'm identified in this moment with my essence that this place cannot entrap. That is the essence that will, no matter what happens, my essence is not capable of anything other than that narrow path through that straight gate. So I don't even know what in the hell you talking about, Jack. I don't even know what in the hell you're talking about, Jack. It sounds like a bunch of nonsense to me. But it seemed to me like the antithesis of the thesis improperly identified, right? And by the way, what is the antithesis? If the thesis is to be one and to know that my essence is one with the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level, Once the other thing, right? Anything that then expresses as if it's even possible for the antithesis of that proposition to have any validity represents evil, represents wickedness, represents death, represents destruction, and belongs to this place. And what I am can't be touched by this place. What I am can't be stained by this place. Only when I incorrectly identify with the parts of me that seem to be of this world can I even get in a frame of mind that can even consider that proposition, sir, or more correctly, the antithesis of my revolutionary proposition. See, when I express myself properly identified in this realm of death and destruction, the very expression of my essence represents a revolutionary act. Are you really going to ask the expression of a revolutionary act, what about this and what about that? The revolution doesn't think about that. The revolution is marching along. Revolution, revolution, revolution. It doesn't stop to answer the whataboutisms. See, it's too busy being what it is. It's too busy expressing its own revolutionary nature in a realm of death and destruction. And that is the revolution, to say, yeah, I am that force of super intelligent love. That's what I am. And all error, all folly, all wickedness, all immorality, it only happens when I don't identify properly inside of myself with my own true nature. Because when I properly identify within myself based on my own true nature, I'm not capable of evil. I'm not capable of wickedness. I'm not capable of serving Moloch's machine. I'm not capable of experiencing fear. I'm not capable of experiencing anxiety. That's the I never knew you from the Bible. What I am has never known any of that and will never know that. Now, the person born into this realm, experiencing a delusion, right? This level of consciousness, or more correctly, my prior levels of consciousness, previous versions of Benton. Yeah, oh yeah. And in fact, this version of Benton on a daily basis still manages to experience fleeting, tiny, little bitty, almost insignificant moments of fear, anxiety, and worry. And it might amount to 0.5% of my day. That's called get on my level, Jack. Get on my level, Jack. Get to where 99.5% of your day, it's not possible to experience fear. It ain't possible to experience worry. It ain't possible to experience anxiety, because I'm there. And I don't know if it's possible to get to 100% or not. But if it is, I'm going to get there if I live long enough. But then again, what I am can only ever express that perfectly. See, again, this is the revolution. And what I am can't concern itself with whataboutism. And do you see the attacks of the enemy? Do you see the proposition of the antithesis, which proves itself to not be identified with that force? And so from my perspective, all I can say is, well, perhaps nothing within that individual is capable of being identified with the most super intelligent force of love possible. Maybe it is irredeemable. I don't know. Doesn't really have nothing to do with me, Jack, because I've reached a level of self-realization where I know exactly who and what I am inside of me, and I know exactly where I came from, and I know exactly where I'm going. I came from the most super intelligent force of love possible at the highest level. I'm in a delusion that death and destruction can possibly touch what I am. And when I leave this experience, I'm going right back where I came from. What about that, Jack? What about that, Jack? What you gonna tell me, Jack? Can't tell me nothing, can you? Woo! That is the revolution. And it feel good to be a revolutionary. It feel good to be a revolutionary. Mm-hmm. Believe that. All right. On to bigger and better things. Enjoy your whataboutisms. Bye.